honestly, the book that KD did, LeBron, like I think all those books should honestly be, and from my perspective as an entrepreneur, I think all those books should be considered thoughtfully and talked about, and how do we teach entrepreneurship to the younger generations. So I think it's easier to get them to accept it, to like look at entrepreneurship as an actual pathway for them, with these icons and celebrities that are now making a lot of these notable moves in the business sphere.
So the LeBron book, do you believe they should dive more into the Maverick Carter side of it, or?
I haven't read it, but so I don't. So is it?
So I read it, Jeff Benedict. So LeBron, it's not necessarily. So it's not. It's a book about. It's not. LeBron didn't really take part in the book.
Mm-hmm.
It's more. I think I read it because of Jeff Benedict. He did another book by talking about somebody else, and it's really, really good. It's really, really good. It'll keep your attention. It talks about from the beginning all the way until the only complaint I would say, they probably rushed the last part of the season. Mm-hmm. Because when he broke the record, they do have that in there.
Okay.
But it was kind of like they kind of rushed the last year. Right. Outside of that, it's really, really good. It's a really good book.
So it's more biography, not necessarily specifically on his business.
Yes, because you learned that LeBron actually has something against like writers and everything.
Really?
And it's understandable based off of the things that happened when he was a high schooler.
Right.
So that's the reason why. So, and Jeff Benedict does a very good job of. You can tell maybe LeBron might have gave him some information, but you can tell that wasn't like his biography.
So the only one he messes with is Brian Windhorst, huh?
And that's, I mean, and most icons at that level, until they're ready to do it themselves, it's all unauthorized. Yeah. Because number one, the money they're going to command for that is going to be crazy, right? But I would love for him to do if he doesn't even have to do a biography, for him to talk about business. Like, and again, that's me personally where my interest lies. For him, Maverick Carter, KD, Jay-Z, I don't care, Rick Ross and what's the boy name? Jeezy, we just looked at. All of them to put books out talking about entrepreneurship. And we had this conversation last time about what was the last most book?
I wasn't here.
Oh. Because there was an issue between the difference between what capitalism is. Capitalism as an entity that from its very beginning of its existence is all about exploiting black folk. But black folk been engaging in commerce for a very long time before colonialism. So how do we talk about commerce and how we generate wealth without that white supremacist attitude that is all about exploiting people? So for them, if they can talk through that thought process, it would become hard to put out a book. The stuff that he does about finance and credit and stuff like that. I think all those things are necessary. I would love to see more of that come out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be the voice of dissent here. I don't know that I care that much to read. Like, I feel like there's so much access to that type of stuff that I like. For instance, I know. Are we live right now?
I didn't realize it. Hey guys, yeah, we'll be back.
We should be, because
yes.
But you know, like
we'll get started. It's all good.
Yeah, like I don't know. I feel like I know so much about LeBron. I don't even feel compelled to read a book about him.
It's really good.
I believe it. I think you're absolutely right. Like I'm 100% certain there are tons of things that I do not know that I would learn by reading. You know,
it's more so because of so it's a lot of stuff that's kept under wraps about his mom, and they kind of like go a little bit of that. And while LeBron is very protective of his mom, and that's why there hasn't really been anything out about his mom. And that's kind of like how the book talks about a little bit.
Listen to tequila.
Yes.
All right, so Didn't realize
we were sitting
live,
here.
y'all.
They were jumping in on the rapper.
So it's all good.
Rapper
So we
need to go.
keep going. We're gonna get started. People are coming in. My name is Derek Young, one of the owners here for Books.
So you said
and we are having our book club discussion on S.A. Cosby's All the Sinners Bleed. You caught us on a hot mic moment talking about just other books about dealing with celebrities and icons who are business minded and how important those books are and what we just have initial thoughts about. So we're going to be getting started here soon. As people are getting, can I get a little bit of that?
This one?
Not the other one.
This one?
Yeah,
Okay, I got you.
Thank you.
That's one little.
So
I'm not trying to be lit over here, like over here pouring half the damn bottle out.
So we have Panama in the house. We won't get started tonight.
What's up?
New faces here, some old faces, and what's cool about this conversation today is, this is our second time reading S.A. Cosby this year, right?
Yes. Did we read the other book this year? Was it
Yeah, it was in
so.
February, March.
Okay.
Yeah, so we read,
Okay.
We read Razor Blade Tears earlier this year, and the way that we choose the books is we choose the first 6 months, and then when we get to like month 5 or 6, we choose the second. So that way we try to make sure we can see what new is coming out we might have interest in, as well as pick if there's any themes or topics that pop up that we kind of want to choose for the latter half of the year. So this year we read Razor Blade Tears, and I think it was like unanimous. Everyone came in and was excited about it. It was my first time reading it.
I didn't heard it before, so that was like, I think how we ended up on him was I think I did some kind of like poll on Facebook. I was like, I'm trying to get into more fiction books.
Mm-hmm.
Can somebody give me some more fiction books? And his Razor Blade Tears and Blacktop Wasteland came up over and over, and I was like, okay, so I've never heard this author, but everybody else seems to know who this is, and everybody keeps going back to the same book. Like 15-30% of those comments were about that one book. So it was like, let's get that one shot.
So it was.
How are you?
I'm good.
The wristband that came from somewhere?
Oh, just a museum, not a party, not a day party.
Out there. All right. Hey, this Friday. Turn up.
It is Friday.
So this book club discussion, S.A. Cosby, and the interesting thing is that I had heard of him, and one of my person that I really respect as a book person, he called me when Blacktop Wasteland came out, and he was like, Derek, like, make sure you order a bunch of these books. I mean, I told him like Bob Coates. He called me like just out of the blue, like, this dude is serious. It took me a while to get to him, but yeah, from jump, after reading Razor Blade Tears, I was all about it. So
yeah, I bought his other books right off the strength. Just got to get to reading them. Like that.
All right, so we're going to. I don't know if we have. If it's going to be very interesting. If we can spark some debate.
I don't know if we can here.
Right, I don't know if we can get.
I am right here, guys. I am right here.
Okay.
I got debates. Listen, she done brought the Henny.
You are so nice. I left mine in the I figured that out.
Well, I left it in the purse a minute. So let me see how many niggas is in here first.
Wait, the fuck you were last time?
You just invited me. I was like, I'm not bringing that out. That's my own
It's my birthday this week.
Oh,
Yeah.
It needs to
okay.
come out.
Happy birthday.
All right.
We'll find something. I'm here. I'll
Okay,
find a way.
Virgo season, we love to see it.
So, for all you guys who are watching us on YouTube or Facebook, please feel free to make some comments, share it in a conversation with us. we'd be happy to include your feedback in the conversation. But we're just going to get into it. We like to have fun with these. I'm very eager to hear what Panama has to say that's going to be the controversial, because I don't see what's controversial about it. And in fact, the only thing that I read a review on it. I love the book. I didn't expect it to be a mystery book, and so I took it as a mystery book in my mind. The way I would process it, I think mystery book. The only thing I read of a person had anything negative to say about it was they didn't like, and we can get into it later, how they kept, as they was playing with the red, what's that, McCain?
Oh, the Red McCain thing from
like
the...
how they kind of dropped that in there, like,
Listen,
it periodically.
it's too long. Could have cut 60 pages out of this bad boy, and we could have dropped that whole story. We didn't need it. It wasn't necessary for the...
It was with the FBI. And
yeah, the story that showed up at the damn near the end of the book. It's like, finally.
You knew it was going to happen, so it was to try to help kind of what is going to be the thing to kind of, what is his trauma? So that was his trauma, that he made a decision to basically off the dude, you know, even when he out of here giving up or whatever. But like, I love the whole thing from beginning to end, and I thought it should be, to me, once I finished, I was ready for, and that's what I posted on IG, was like, this should be a trilogy.
A trilogy?
Yeah,
Really?
I could definitely see, and I'm being nice with that, because I can see him turning this into an easy rounds, like 8.
Wait, this particular story, or
Yeah,
like
the character.
Titus is
Like John Wick is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Like,
I could
he's him
see
that way.
Titus becoming a running character across numerous
That's interesting.
books.
See,
The way it ended, it could, because he's no longer the sheriff of the small town. I can see it. I agree with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, he's a profiler.
yeah,
He's
he
like,
used to work for the FBI.
yeah. There's a lot of stuff that you can touch him into. Okay, so now he's in what?
He can become-
Baton Rouge?
that is probably LSU or something, or
Yeah.
Southern. Let's say Southern.
He can become a PI.
Yeah, or even
Yeah.
as a criminologist working at the school. Okay, I'm gonna bring you in on this case. You have this experience catching these two kind of people, right? I'm gonna bring you in. So there's a number of things that I think, like, you know, as they call me, I can help you figure out.
I mean,
You
this
know,
definitely could have
the
been its
universe.
own Netflix 8-episode.
Yeah, it's a
You know, it could have been one of those. You know what I'm saying?
It's a miniseries.
I ain't gonna lie. I thought he was gonna catch a bad one at the end. I thought my man was out, and then we are gonna get he's basically been telling this whole story from the clouds or whatever. I was like, oh, this is nice. Titus is out of here, but he died on his. Because he listened. You know, at some point, the Red McCain thing, or was it McCain? McCain, Red, whatever it was. It consumed him so much. Like, his woman left him. You know, like they put lambs on his door. Like, my man, just, you know, at some point it's just like you done too much to go on, and you ain't done enough to go any further. Like he just. Oh no! When I thought he was gonna die, I was like, all right, okay.
Oh, you're
Killing. I was like, we killing our main character. I like it. I like when, you know.
I would have been pissed.
I would have been pissed.
Yeah.
Why? He got the dude.
I know, but if he had died, I would have been upset.
Yeah.
He was bleeding out. Like he could have.
Nah.
5 minutes later,
all
and
the time in Luther,
Yeah.
he still be.
It played out like a movie. I mean, you
Yeah.
need.
I know people die in movies all the time.
Well, I mean, you needed the backstory for why he was kind of like frustrated and what really, because I was wondering the entire time, why'd you stop becoming an FBI agent? Like, and it became
Fair enough.
you needed to, and I think it kept you wondering. And then the girl thing, I kind of understood that completely. He loved her, but he didn't love her. Like
He
the
loved
feelings,
her.
the feelings wasn't mutual. Like she
No,
loved
she
him
was
more.
scared.
She loved him.
Right.
She
She
loved
was
him.
scared. She ran.
Well, that too.
She was riding
I mean,
down.
that's security. That's security.
Wait.
Wait.
She didn't
Wait.
ran. There's a crazy
ran.
murderer
Ran.
She
running
ran.
through the
She ran.
streets trying to take out people.
But you were
Right,
a cop,
like,
though. You were a
She
cop.
she
should've.
tried to meet him where he was
No,
as
she
best
didn't.
as she could. Yeah,
As best as she could.
Okay, so
She
you
ran.
wanted her to say for
But
the
she ran.
serial killer to be like, all right, I'm
She
gonna
was
do
next
some collateral damage and kill
Right there.
her. Like,
Better stay with me.
Rwanda, please hide in the same
But hold on. Here's the difference. Like you and Rwanda live in the same house. He wasn't even sending folks to look after her. Like she got a call to be like, "Hey, boo, can you come through?"
No
I
personal
want you to be
details,
safe.
no nothing.
By yourself.
He's in a small town.
She was gonna ask too many questions. He didn't want to give too many answers. That's why he was trying.
Which is why she needed to take her black ass on like
She
you
needed
did.
to leave.
She was
She
too
needed to
scared anyway. She was like,
She was scared.
oh,
I'm sorry she's
worried.
scared.
I'm
It's
sorry.
justified. I'm glad she lived. At least we know she lived. Why?
She
Because
deserved
ran.
to. She had every right to leave.
Yes.
She did have every right to leave.
Yes, she
I
did.
understand why she didn't want to stick with him.
Yeah.
I will say that. Yeah. See, he had some dark stuff in his closet. Yeah, he
There
wasn't.
wasn't stuff in his closet.
Well, she didn't know that.
But here's the
He never told
Yeah.
her what fully happened.
He keeping too
So
much
she was
up.
probably thinking the worst.
Yeah. That's something you don't tell to a lot of people.
Agreed.
But here's the thing: when you heard it, when you even like,
a lot of
no, when I read that, I was like, this ain't that bad, bro.
Well, okay.
This ain't that bad. I really thought it was gonna be worse. I was like, you shot racist.
Yeah, like,
Put 4 hoppers in them.
I'm saying it's not that bad.
Like, I mean, you did need to get fired, but everybody would understand. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
getting thrown under the bus is like, okay, we let you go.
right? You lost your benefits, but you know,
He could have shared that with her, and then she probably would have said, she would have been like,
She was
oh.
too scary.
I think she was too. He was embarrassed by it, and then also she was. When you come from a small town, people kind of think certain ways. So, and she admitted she's never seen the world.
Yeah.
So I can understand why. And even his brother said the same thing. Like, you're not gonna be with her. She's small town, and you're a big stage guy, and So I can understand. They deserve to go their separate ways. Sadly.
Yeah.
can I say?
Sadly.
There's some controversy. Controversy.
Uh-oh.
It's a lot of death happened on his watch. People were right. A lot of people died on his watch.
No.
Listen, I'm just saying, it's a fact. It's a lot of bodies on his watch.
It's going to be more
If nobody dies, he gets credit. If everybody catches a bad one, I'm just saying. My man's jacket. It is timing, but it happened on his watch. Look, President Clinton got a lot of credit for the economy going this way after that shit had tanked for all them years, right? We was all like, man, Clinton brought the economy back. What happens on your watch happens on your watch. He wasn't going to win the election again because look how many people died. The damn fair, people got murdered at the fair being run over by trucks.
Dude, but what is he supposed to do?
Right, like, he can't.
I'm with you. It's a bad job.
And
It's a bad job. It's a bad
He
job.
was the one who said, let's postpone it.
Right.
These folk, the woman stealing money from the coffers. Like, come on, man. He's getting responsible for everybody, right? She's
The
stealing money.
job sucks. I'm with you, but that's what happens when you're the sheriff. Like that shit happens on your watch, but then you're on the, you're on
But
the
it was
clock.
already happening, and they were sweeping it under the rug, or
Well, the murders of the kids didn't happen on his
Right.
watch. Well, one did, but they didn't know, right? Once they uncovered it, and all of a sudden people are dying left and right. It does happen on his watch. Is all I'm saying. I'm not even
I feel
saying
like-
he's bad at his job. I'm just saying it's probably good that he left to go somewhere else.
Well, he caught the serial killer, so they would have been all right.
He did
They would've been
did catch him.
Well, did he catch him or did he
He killed him.
He killed him.
He killed him. Yeah, I mean,
That
but he
is
had to.
catching.
Well, he wasn't going
to kill him.
The guy
Right.
Yeah, there was no way that guy was going. He wasn't going to prison.
Yeah, he was going out the other way.
My man was not made for prison.
But that was I'll say this about I love the backstory. I love how with a serial killer. I love how he set him up. Right when he got to that story about him being this abused kid and giving him like this. I'm not sure the way to say it, but I guess the motivation for like what kind of set him on that path was, I thought, like very well done in the book. Do you recall the
Yeah.
conversation?
I agree with you. I think the serial killer's backstory was well written. It was, you can imagine it, and then to be honest with you, you kind of like had you had sympathy for him if you exclude, it was a really bad situation. I was very shocked by who it was in the end, but then I thought to find out who it was, I thought that actually made sense with it being the bus driver.
Yeah.
I think that played out correctly.
Yeah.
Like that explains how you got all the kids.
I would have liked it more if it had been a person that was being mentioned in the book more. A character who was actually kind of have more engagement.
He just kind of shows up at the end of the book.
Yeah. So it makes sense that it's the bus driver. It makes sense that he has all the access to these kids. He's doing these extra routes and stuff during high volume season. So it makes perfect sense. But I feel like it would have. I honestly wanted it to be Scott. So I wanted Titus to keep his ass. Like I was like having the book. I'm like, please, Peter. Like when he showed up in his office, it was like, yeah, sit down. I'm like, please, I really need Titus to kick your ass.
I agree. I think the bus driver thing is going to be perfect for an 8-part series because every time Titus showed up somewhere, you see kids getting on the bus, and then it's just going to make boom. At the end of the episode, you're going to be like, oh, the bus. I think that's why it's going to make sense when it becomes an 8-part series, TV series. So, could you see in the background?
I gotta say, I want to know. A lot was left unfinished. The Spearman thing, right? So, do we all disagree that because remember, people were like, Spearman was this great guy, and the other dude killed him, and all this stuff. Like, did the town finally come around to admitting that he was a murderous rapist? They were doing all these bad things. Scott, our buddy Scott, what happened to him after the fact, right? Like, it's his brother. He got a little brother out here who ended up being the one who did all this stuff. Like, what happened to him? Did he go and just quietly, step off, kind of like fade into the bushes somewhere? I want to know what happened to the people that were causing all this grief during the rest of the time. Maybe mostly that guy. I want to know what happened there.
So you agree the character needs another book?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
100%. Yeah, I'm fine with it. But
they'll clear up.
But whether Titus was dead or not, that book can come too. You know what I'm saying? Like, because Marquise is still in Sharon County or whatever. Marquise is still there. His brother's still there.
He can get a spin off.
And you know what? Somebody who felt the way might go kill their daddy. Bringing Titus back. And then the two brothers, now they're a super duo. Now they got to go out and find out what happened.
I like that. That's good.
Now the problem is, Titus got a voice box issue now. He sounds like the DOC. So, but there's a lot on the table. Lots to work with. Lost the feed.
No,
So
charge.
I still do think the book was too long. I really do think some of that stuff was unnecessary. It just kept going at some point. Like I don't know. It's like, but it read quickly. So that wasn't my complaint. It was just like, I feel like it could have been wrapped up perhaps sooner.
For the most part, I think he does really good pacing, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
As far as chapters go, some people, they just don't know when you quit, especially with descriptions and stuff.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. He's good at that. I mean, I knew I was going to finish the book. I knew I was going to, there was never a point where I was like, yo, this is too long, I can't do this. It was like, no, I need to see what happened. And then everything kind of happened at the end. Like, it really it sped up at the end. It was all the shenanigans were towards the end of it. So.
Well, I guess comparing detectives, I loved it. Minds and all that, kind of serial killers, but not the binding group, the Jigsaw band, Detective Inspector Angelica versus Titus.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys feel. Do you feel like you would tune in more to Angelica and her catching serial killers, or are you more interested in Titus and how he finds discovery? Would you keep watching or reading Titus in the same kind of fashion? Because it feels like Nadine Matheson is trying to make a Sherlock Holmes series, but Detective Inspector Angelica.
To me, I feel like I think I'm a little bit more. Seeing that we're 2 books in, and she kind of made Angelica far more vulnerable in that first book. When that Bach showed up on her porch, it upped the ante there. I think you're right. I think the fact that his dad and brother could be more exposed would add more compelling story to it, so that you're really like engaged and like into and like what are the ramifications here, especially if he has to run back from LSU or Baton Rouge or whatever where he's going to be at. Like that would become a thing because there's still racists. There's still this group of people that are still there in that town that they're not going to care, right? Like they really don't care that Spearman was doing what he was doing. They don't care that the guy in Denver was running over folk, right? So his family still could legitimately be in peril in that town. And is this a real town?
No.
I've been
I
reading
looked it up. I looked all that stuff up. No, it's not a real county.
Okay, I was really hoping.
I wonder if he based it off of a place in Virginia though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's where he's from. Like,
yeah.
South, he's from like them back, they're kind of like backwoods Virginia type stuff. Here's a question: Have you read Razor Blade Tears?
Yes, I have. I read Young Black.
Which one did you like? Okay. I like Razor Blade Tears more though. I will say that like that joint was a wild ride to the far side, boy. That was like nonstop murder, mayhem, and like that was. And see, that was kind of like they had a mission, but at some point it was just like this is wildly entertaining. Like this, it didn't feel like a mystery so much as we're just gonna go wreak havoc.
Yeah.
And if we solve this shit at the end, then great.
Yeah.
But otherwise, people are just gonna pay. And I like the characters. I enjoyed the Buddy Lee versus the what's that dude's name? What's the black name? I like the Ike and Buddy Lee kind of like like because I could visualize that. Like I could see that as a buddy film with Samuel L. Jackson and I don't know.
I compare it to Two Guns all the time because you got Denzel.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So.
If y'all haven't really like that, I think you guys will love Philadelphia Planets 07.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Blacktop Wasteland because one of the main characters' name is Beauregard. I just love that name, Beauregard.
That's a good name.
It's a really good name. But Blacktop Wasteland, I agree. Razor Blade Tears is better because I had enjoyed Razor Blade Tears because you got to understand what it looks like from both sides.
Yeah.
Like, and I think he did a very good job in writing both characters. Like, the dad, the Caucasian dad, from his viewpoint of how things are.
I'm messing with Buddy.
Yeah.
What?
I love that white man. White man entertaining.
He was very good.
He was entertaining. I like my racist entertaining. I love it.
And then you had the other father.
There were no fun racists in this book.
They were all just bad.
They were just like stereotypical white, southern, whatever. Like understood their place of Buddy Lee. He just listen. He's like, I ain't shit, ain't gonna be shit, but
and he's not
on the way out. I'm gonna take some people with me.
And he's not really meaning to be racist. And because he's not racist, he has prejudice.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of it is based out of ignorance, not knowing what
Right.
He was always both.
There was a certain level of like his racism didn't overtake the mission at hand. It was like, listen, you and me we are partners in this.
Did I just say something racist? Goddamn, I didn't mean to. Like that's his energy.
I was like, should I pull this card but now put you or?
But they addressed that in the book, right? He would say something that I could be like, listen, do that again, I'm gonna kill you myself.
Right.
All right, okay. So this is that's all.
So I was gonna say that I like this book better. I did not finish it just because it's a lot for me. These books overstimulate me.
There's a lot of murder and mayhem. Quentin Tarantino must read these things like, yes.
A month is not long enough for me to get through his books, but the writing is so good. It's so good. But I think I'm not sure why I like this one more. I think I just like his storytelling better in this one. And not that it's wildly different than Razor Blade Tears, but I felt like there was a progression that felt quicker to me. Not in terms of the story being quicker, but how he wrote. I just liked it more. Did not dislike Razor Blade Tears.
Yeah, I definitely, and that's what I'm saying. Like this one felt more mystery bookish to me. Like it was a slow burn. You had to roll with him as he was dealing with these clues popping up. Is it not?
I think it kept me in it more.
Right. Whereas, like you said, Razor Blade Tears was like, we're going to take this sledgehammer and we just going like.
To get to me.
Yeah. going in. We probably won't make it out of this situation.
Definitely.
But that's how it was. Nothing to lose. It's like we're going balls to the wall with this, and it was like they did. It was like, man, this book just really. I think I remember when we did that combo. I was like, this started like slow, then boom, it was off to the races.
It was.
And all of a sudden, it just didn't slow down at all. Like it was just like I gotta see how this one ends. Like I need to know.
I mean, what this makes
I
me
won't
do.
finish. I just haven't finished.
What this makes me do is I now need to go back and read more of his books because these are not vastly different books, but the approach is really is different enough that it's like, okay, there's skill set here. Like I'm not reading it like, oh, this is like language. It's not like that, but it's a skill set of storytelling, right? It's a kind of a different type of high-level skill set that not everyone has. Where you can tell a story and like you have friends like that who, no matter what they're saying, you're engaged. It's like, oh, this dude tell the best stories ever. And that's kind of what he is showing, that whether it's a slow burn, whether it's a aggressive in your face type of style, we're going to have the murder mayhem, right? Like, so you just kind of have to deal with it. Be overstimulated.
That's right. That's gotta do it.
And, it's just going to be a fun action book. Like, I could definitely see myself after a hard nonfiction joint that, like, you just want to step off and just get that fun read, pick them up, and just because you want to enjoy it.
I think the good thing about this book was that it was. I understand what you mean by it. It was it was kind of like a little bit more relatable than Razor Blade Tears in a
I
sense.
think that's what I meant.
Because they kept reminding you of like the young lady. She was like, hey, I really can't believe so and so did this, and he was a well-beloved teacher, and he had to keep reminding her like, hey, listen, you got to understand what people, that's a mask that people wear, and I think that's the reason why it was so good and relatable. And and another thing about his books I do love, because I read a couple of books by Walter Mosley, and he went down the same timeline of, he has one character where he came out with a second book, and they were good, but I feel like his books are a little bit more relatable. Like his books had me like generally engaged, like wanting to hear every single word or what's the next word. Where as far as Walter Mosley, I felt like if you read those, you might agree that some of the stuff could be left out or it was a little too worded. It wasn't that it was bad; it was really good, but it was a little too worded. And there's a couple. Yes, I can't remember the name of the character, but those books.
So I just want you to know, it's almost blasphemous to speak of Walter Mosley like that.
So
I just
Wait,
yes.
is it really?
Controversial king over here.
Like,
Is it?
I didn't know that. I've been here for years. I had no
I said it
idea.
for a very long time. Up on that wall, Walter Mosley is, in terms of. She did not just say that. She said, "Which one is Walter Mosley?" I'm not doing my job.
Did we read Walter Mosley?
Up here, we have it.
He has a good one called The Awkward Black Man. It's really, really
Yeah, I have several of his books, so we haven't read not one book.
He's about to sit
Really?
there.
It's a black and white. Everyone's like, which one?
Yeah. To be honest, Walter Mosley is one of those. As a young kid, not young, but as a teenager, right? When I really started getting into books.
Okay.
And there were certain books that my mom would give me, Kafir Boy, Invisible Man. She would give me all these literary classic books that we need to read, but that's not what kept my attention. What caught my attention was, The Death of Superman, Walter Mosley, Black Betty, right? That I read that book and I was like, okay, like I'm a reader now, and it was that kind of mystery, that thing that just the ability to tell a story and in a certain time setting, because it's not like modern contemporary. It's taking you back, right, a few decades. So to me, I was like, he's one of my favorite.
I can appreciate
writers.
that.
Yeah.
That's how. So I've only read 3 of his books, and it was like The Awkward Black Man and these 2 books that he just recently released. That was it. So that I feel that way. I've been reading for a while though, but that's how I would feel if somebody say something bad about it.
Yeah.
I just got in on them, and then every book I've read by him was really, really good. And except for I haven't read. He came out with 4 books already. I haven't read his first book.
Yeah.
There's a first
My
book that
Darkest
came out.
Hour. I know My Darkest Prayer.
Yes, I haven't read that one yet. But the other 3 I've read. So I get what you're saying. Yeah, I just caught him at the Opera Black Man, which is really good. It's just the other.
And I'm messing up.
Oh, I know.
There's like and honestly, I was sitting there, I was like, would I actually say? And I was thinking about if I should, like, if this was going to be a part of the conversation, like, where would I put him? It's seeing there's only 2 books in that I've read of his. Where would I put him in that watch mostly conversation? Because he's one of those people that, for this kind of writing, I found myself really enjoying, like, from just like watch mostly from the jump, like wow. And if he puts anything out, I'm reading it. Right? It's getting right in that place now where I just here's the book. I'm gonna check it out. Like that's where he is with me now.
That's how it was when I found out. When I read, I had read Blacktop Wasteland, and then afterwards, someone said, "Oh, if you really like that book, you should check out Razor Blade Tears." And I really love Blacktop Wasteland. Like you guys, when you read it, it's really, really good. Just name Beauregard, I think that's a great name for a character. And then Razor Blade Tears was just amazing. And then I read this book, and I thought it was really, really good. But yeah, I definitely get it. He definitely has a particular way of writing. Yeah.
So I really felt the goal was supposed to jump.
Like there are, for me, there's some.
So how have we not read one of his books in here?
Well, I guess
Like
it's all
5
the
years.
next book club.
Well, we've been doing this since like 2018.
Yeah.
Maybe
No,
he didn't want
question
to
there.
over push his own personal bias on the book club.
Yeah, because there's been other stuff. Because honestly, like, just think about it. We're just going to read Revolutionary Suicide for the first time, and that's one of my top 5 books of all time. So, like, yeah, open, and objectionable, right? And objective, you know.
50, 60 books at this point. It seems like you could have slid one in there.
Well, maybe next year. I guess we'll see.
I mean, my favorite book of his, I can't even get anymore.
Oh, wow.
Is he wrote some novellas, sci-fi books from Tour.
Wow.
And like, I remember I did one of my favorite events that I've done for all time. Like Blue Bridges is at the top. But my first time doing an event for Watching Mostly, like I was almost starstruck. But he did this. I was able to get him, had him out at Oxford Library, and he wrote these novellas. And the idea behind it, he said, was he wanted to write a story where a black man was basically destroyed the world, right? But the whole idea was that he basically flipped the entire. He flipped the entire idea of what like power structures were like. It's how everything operated. It's some of my favorite reading I've ever read. If I can find it, I'll actually get it back in school. I need to figure out, But yeah, he's one of my favorites.
All right. I got a question about this book. I watch when I read these things, I visualize who plays Titus in the series.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because in my head it was like Bing Rames at one point, but Bing Rames might be too old.
Really?
Hodges. Aldris Hodges, the guy.
That
He works for him.
He played.
He's young.
No, but he's 35, maybe
He
32,
turns
40.
in his 40s, so he's like.
Well, he's almost
but
there. If they age him up a bit, I think he could look good. He's a good actor.
He has that look that he'll fit in for the
10-year
Southern
man.
I feel like I don't see him play a character that that's very drama. So to me, like I think I first went to Idris Elba because I don't Idris with Luther
Right.
is a character that deals with like he can carry that trauma and like he has a darkness in it. I don't know if the other guy does.
He's
Yeah.
too old for this role.
Yeah, he's too.
who is Idris Elba?
Yeah.
Oh, he's like it does something.
Anyways, that's a good question.
Probably talented.
You said what?
A-Grain probably works.
Bro,
How many minutes has it been?
My bad.
We barely got into it.
I didn't say nothing. I didn't bring up nothing.
oh my god.
Oh, okay.
Inside joke, y'all. Inside joke about.
I was trying to think who might play that character. I couldn't.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I feel like the closest. I can't think of anyone else. I'm thinking actually somebody like Idris. I don't know if what's the son name? That's what I'm saying.
John
Yeah.
David.
He might be
Short.
Harry.
John David Washington.
Yeah, he is.
It's like 5'8".
And he would have to stack on us. Yeah, he would. Yeah.
I want to see John David. I'm gonna come back to you next book club. I'm gonna have an answer. I'm gonna do some research. I'm gonna really get like a full cast flow of imaginary cast. Now I'm really intrigued because if they're making Razor Blade Tears into a movie.
Oh, so they might do this.
So they might do this as a show, and obviously people are gonna.
A Netflix limited series.
Because he's not. He's tall, right?
Oh.
Like I got the impression that no, he wasn't like overwhelmingly tall. But I got the impression probably like 6'2", 6'3", like 200 some pounds. Like he's not a small dude. Like because he has an imposing presence. Or like Scott, he could dominate the space with somebody else that in a room that might fill.
I think he would probably be his brother.
What about that?
Oh yeah, I was joking about that. Yeah, ain't no way I would 50 Cent can't
He's
act.
too short.
Who?
James Blue is too short. But
Forgot.
John Boyega.
oh,
He's too short
but-
too. He's short.
No, not
Jamie
that
Foxx.
short. He's like
I just watched They Clone Tyrone, so I'm
yes, that was so good.
I liked it.
Come on.
He said, was it? I like it.
It was solid. It was solid.
It was a good
I
film.
talked to the writer director and some producers. One went to Morehouse.
Did you write about it?
No, I didn't. I talked about my podcast, and so I had to really I watched it multiple times. I was like, you know what, this is interesting. It's an interesting film. But anyway, John Boyega can fill it off. How are you?
Hello, I'm late, but I made it.
All right. We got a professional coming up in
Came
here.
straight from the office.
All right.
I was like, well, I'm gonna make this book.
Okay.
Relax, get a drink if you want to get one.
Oh, so nice. Oh, no, I just want to hear the reading.
Put it on a company dime. Allow me to get some stuff I haven't tasted before. For it.
We were over here debating in the would this be a movie or a TV show?
TV
show. Who would play Titus? Who would be the person that would play him?
Oh.
Trying to figure that out. John Boyega probably could do it. He's a little young though. But he could.
short.
But he's short. Like he's not
as short as
that short, but he's probably like 5'11", exactly.
I'll give him that. I think I do this 5'9".
No, he's
Oh,
not.
he's not.
He's not as tall as you think he is.
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
He is not an imposing figure at all. Not at all.
Okay, maybe not
He's a running
because
back.
him and the lady who played Brienne of Tarth, I feel like they were kind of similar. No,
He
No.
is 30. Oh,
That was- that was
how
fast.
tall he was.
Yeah.
So she was way taller than he is.
Oh my God.
Is he that short?
But first of all, I know this because I'm blurred. I watched everything in Star Wars several times.
Okay.
It
So
says he's 5'9".
I'm telling you.
It's okay.
If he's going to be.
John, we still love you.
He's seen what's
Short,
all-
you
He
know.
does. He does to me too.
No, he's not.
All right, Jay. Respect.
I'm telling you, the closest thing is Idris, but if he got to find someone a bit younger than him. But he has to carry that. He has to have a darkness.
Who's the guy in the HBO special that was the sci-fi black? You all know him. He was the new bad guy, new big black bad guy in the Avengers movies.
Oh, you're talking about
yeah.
John,
Yeah.
I was picturing
John
John
Davis.
Davis the whole time I was picturing Titus.
He's taller than 5'9".
So he kind of got. I actually agree. He kind of got that look.
But
he's
they
part
say he was
cancel right
dark
now.
skinned,
So,
and he's not.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
No, he's not. He's like.
no,
You're not
he's
light
brown.
skinned. He's in the middle.
Skin, though.
But
That's
see,
why I
but-
said Aldous Hodge. That's to me, he's the only person that I could.
Wait, who did you say?
Aldous Hodge.
He's a good
Aldous
candidate.
Hodge.
I would watch his. I would watch his audition.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Majors is 6 feet. They
Right.
can make
I
that
would
work.
totally watch
He's
his
6 feet
audition.
tall.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's like basketball players listed height. They said Iverson was like 6'3".
Did they really?
Iris was fine.
Yeah, Iverson was not
That's
even 6
crazy.
feet
That's
tall.
a crazy tell. I did not know they said that about it.
So I don't know. So I think so. What? So new person here. What was your? What's like your name?
I'm Aaron.
Aaron. Nice to meet you, Aaron. Just let you know we are live. So I know this guy will work. So
I'm off camera.
right. Okay. Fair enough. So you speak about out it.
Correct.
So Aaron was an A, not an E.
How do you know?
What was your thoughts?
Oh, I have to go first.
No. We want to
First,
on.
it's 7 o'clock. We didn't talk. we didn't wrap the taste about this long. We got to who we cast. You want to know the cast discussion.
So crime is this is not usually my genre of choice. But I really wanted to finish reading the book. Think you convinced me?
Thank you. Best bookseller around.
That's like absolutely right. But I enjoyed. At first I thought like it felt a little forced. Some of the racial dynamics. I was like, well, where is this going with the parade? How does it tie back into and like the pagan, like some like the pagan stuff, like his name is Gabrielle. Like all of those things are like that's not particularly interesting to me. But the way and someone described this to me, they're like what they like about Cosby is how he is able to address this like conversation around racial issues in this genre in a way that does feel organic. And I felt like as I was reading more and more, it did feel like very, very like not like it didn't feel forced in the way that like at first I was like, how is he gonna tie these conversations together that we're talking about this statue? And I liked his character. I liked Titus's character, and I didn't I thought I could predict what he was struggling with when it like ultimately revealed. It was different than what I was expecting. My favorite part of the book was the end, with how he like left the county, and like he's clearly someone that is not like finally embracing the gray areas, right? And that like he could live in that way. So I don't know that it's like this is. I like the way that Cosby connected the challenges that we face in Black America and a place like Sharon. The genre is like it's just not my cup of tea. But I like the way that he helped me to see that.
Are you doing I think this is more mystery. Are you a mystery reader?
No, I usually I'm much more into kind of like the generational sagas of like.
House.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I laughed because we had a hard time with that book for our book club. We read it.
Oh, really? So wait, I don't like. Who liked the? Did anybody not like the book? Everybody loved it.
This book?
This one, yeah.
Yeah, everybody.
We all
Yeah.
yeah.
I read it so fast. I was here like last week,
Yeah.
and I read it was like 3 days. It was very easy to get
It's a
through.
quick read. His books, I like that. From the two that we've read, you definitely get this book.
Did you read Razorblade?
Yes.
Yeah, we
did
read that earlier this year. Yeah.
I
That's how we got here.
Did you like Razorblade?
Yeah, I love that book.
I think if you enjoyed this one, you're going to enjoy Razorblade Tears more.
That was what I thought, because people seem to love it, and I read a little bit more about what that was about, which also seemed very, very interesting.
But this book just came out, though, right? This
It just came out.
newer book, right? Yeah,
This is like
it's
2 months, 3? Yeah.
I know y'all want me paying hardcover prices out here.
Well, we got it on sale
Appreciate
on
that.
bargains. Right now, we have the hardcover. It's only $10.
It's don't sell you another book. You already had the book, but just in case.
Wait, too,
It's only at 8 o'clock. But I enjoyed
He was
it.
knocking on the door, so we just say we got it.
Did you do like least and favorite character, best and favorite?
Oh, I
Oh,
can see
my least is going to be Scott. Like I need
Yeah,
to kick his ass. I
For
really,
sure.
really need. I appreciate that he wrote. I don't even know how he wrote that character.
Yeah.
Because I have such an aversion to him as a person, right? And you can see him. I can there are people that you know like that, who just because of their title or position or family, like just have this air about them, and I don't do well with those people. So, as a personality, I don't like them, but I enjoyed all the characters he wrote. I was a little bit, the one character I think that he did a little wrong, and maybe wrong is not the right way to say it, but I felt like Marquise was far more removed from the family than what he actually ended up being. Like he seemed to advance that relationship and that connection faster than what it was talked about.
It didn't require a ton of working through,
yeah,
in order to get that somewhat back on track. That is true. Yeah,
I agree. He's a character that I wanted to know more about, and it felt like I was like, oh well, I guess they cool. There's him.
Yeah. So I'm glad it was that, but just the way that he laid it out in the beginning, I felt like there was going to be. I even at one point wondered, I was like, Marquise is not going to be the murderer, is he? Because it felt like he was absent, but all of this backstory he talked about with him just kind of made him out to be like this very vague, like character that felt like he could go very gray either way. But yeah, so.
I felt it was very predictable that he was going to use the belt buckle. I felt like that was overly foreshadowed.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all.
Really?
I watch a lot of criminal stuff, and I didn't see that coming. That's just me.
Because they said it the first time. He was like, "Why do you need this?" And then like they make sure they tell us that he puts the belt on, and then like even over like then there's like later in the book, his brother sees him. He's like, "Why are you wearing my belt?" And I was like, "We get it. He's got the belt with a knife on. Like he's wearing it around. He will be safe." That's funny. I thought it was like a little over the top, but I was reading into it a little much.
I do want to get back to what you said about cutting out like 60 pages worth of this book. Where would you cut it?
Oh, listen. I think you do need I need to know why he left the FBI, whatever.
Yes.
I think they overplayed that. Like it took so long to get to the reason why, and it really didn't seem that dire. I understand why they had to put him out, but it didn't seem like that would be the thing that would just be like have completely changed the direct course of his life in that way. To me, maybe it's just considering everything that's going on in this town anyways. It's like, buddy, it's been some things. So it's just, your story, I was waiting for a little bit more of a hammer to drop.
Yeah.
And this is just kind of like, you did something reasonable and understandable. Sure, you're a job.
It was murder.
I appreciate you saying that. 'Cause I'm like, what we're calling reasonable.
There's a lot of gray area in a lot of this stuff, man. Like, listen, I'm just saying.
We aren't mad at it, but it's not necessarily reasonable.
Well, hold up. I
I
just said a lot of murder happened on his watch. Also a fact. Y'all are like, no, what are you talking about?
Those were his happenings.
Happening on his watch.
Was his finger? He pulled the trigger.
Right? Of those murders too. Like he struggled.
What
with
I'm
all the
saying
murders.
is, we can't be like, well, it was just murder. This is just the fact of the case. Like, Buddy was going to lose his job. You can't have basically a murderous crime spree happening on your watch where everything gets exposed. You know who got the short end of the stick? Is the dude, Tom, who died trying to help him out of the end. He decided to come back to work the one day, and Tom dies right there. Like, Tom should have stayed home.
That was a hell of a.
It was like, why was this even necessary? Tom didn't have to go. Like, that.
No, he could have.
Tom could have just stayed there and fired.
But you always
Tom was fired. He was at home crying and mad.
Well, Tom had to go because he was a crook anyway. He was stealing money from him.
Fine.
He wasn't going to
He didn't need to die. He showed up to help out, and
he was never going to work. He was never going to work again.
No,
that's fine. Going to be black.
Hold on, because I think was they also insinuating he was abusive as well.
Yes.
He was a drunk.
He was a drunk, but I think he insinuated that he was a little abusive. Like I think he was talking about how his wife was responding in that space.
He definitely pointed out he didn't know how much of an alcoholic he was.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't remember feeling like Tom was an abuser, but maybe
There
I
was
missed
someone
that
that got that they were like, oh, but nobody, his wife didn't mind because she knew she wouldn't get slapped for not burning the.
Oh, that was
Right.
Elias, is the Reverend that died.
That's
Yeah.
who that was.
The snake tamer.
Right. Well, the pastor who was the brother of the snake dude that the kid also killed,
And
whatever.
the pastor was.
Who was one? Because I'm about to say something that might be wrong, but
The pastor that had the.
the snake.
Elias.
Okay.
So it
His
was
name was
the one with the snakes that was Elias a snake dude too, and it was his brother that the kid just dumped the snakes
Elias
on.
was a
And
snake guy.
okay,
His brother
all
was
right,
a
all right.
snake
Yeah.
guy. Yeah. So okay. I had a real problem with Jamal,
The
the black pastor.
black pastor.
Yes. Yes.
I had a real problem with him because I felt like
we didn't get enough of him at the
he
end.
was far too righteous for me. Right? Like at some point, I understand you're writing this character, but you wrote him with too much of a blind side for what's actually happening right now. Like you're too much concerned about social justice and all this stuff. Then this guy was like, what was it the dude that got blown up?
Latrell.
The trail, right? Like all these things was happening. I understand you have a concern, but dude, like you gotta chill out with what I'm trying to do right now. Like it's a little bit, I'm doing too much. Like I need you to step to the side for a minute.
Yeah.
Let me get things under control. Then we can have this other conversation. Like I just need you to pause for a minute. And he was like way too much in my face. I needed him to step back.
I feel like that was realistic though. That was like painting a big picture of
camera?
black Christians in today's world, especially those in power, like the pastor.
So-
I really liked.
I was gonna say that character is not reminiscent of a certain war crossman. So just the kind of person that just don't know
Very
when to fall off and
realistic is what
fall
I'm
back a
saying.
little bit.
I not only thought it was realistic, I thought the author explained it so well. It was actually one of the parts that I was most impressed by because I felt like he helped the reader to understand how this pastor could be so righteous, even though we know that like the guy that was killed did all this fucked up stuff. And he was like, I understand why, but like, yes, he like did these horrible things with kids, but like for far too long, black men have been killed for like just walking down the street. And like, I thought I liked the way he helped to explain how that righteousness could exist.
I hear it, I understand it, but it does not. At some point, like an asshole is an asshole. Now, if an asshole gets got, then guess what, dude? You got got, right? It doesn't matter your ethnicity or your race at that point. If you're helping people abduct children, son, I don't care what you look like. Like, I need you to take a step back, and he brought it on himself.
Who were the guy.
Jamal's one
Latrell.
Oh.
Is that his name? Latrell?
Latrell was the one that was helping Spearman,
Yes.
who had like this come to Jesus consciousness moment and
Right.
he killed him. The pastor, was that Jamal? The one
No,
who got killed at the
Jamal
end?
was so upset because
A different pastor.
Latrell was shot when he ran at the cops with this shotgun in his hand.
What I'm saying is that it's at the end when the Denver dude was running over people,
Mhm.
one of the pastors, Jamal Wilkes, was killed.
It was an older pastor.
That was an older pastor.
Yeah.
Okay, because I can't remember. I'm sorry, he's all spoiled. How far have you got?
That's fine.
Yeah, you're
No.
here. I mean, she showed it to the book
No,
club.
no,
Yeah,
no.
we do this, but I don't read books. That's still come. They'll be like, tell me how it ends, so I can.
She's not having a glass of Hennessy, so she ain't remember.
Correct.
Yeah, I have a problem with him. I thought he acted about like you're right. He fighting the wrong battle at the wrong time, but his battle is what he's concerned with. So he's not letting off the gas on the battle that he's fighting, which is how everybody treated him, right? Scott treated him that way. Like these are my issues. I need to just be focused on these things, despite what else is going on.
Yeah.
Here's a question: What's the time frame of all this happening? How much time do y'all think transpired between Spearman dying and finding
It's like a month or two.
I was gonna say it was only like 3 months.
I think it
if
was
that.
like a month. Yeah, it was probably like a month.
Between what? and what?
Between like when the first thing happened.
Between when the first thing happened, because you got to remember. I know you said a lot of people got killed.
A lot of people got killed.
But you also got to remember he was starting to get close. So the one dude that
That's true.
the one that they Viking murdered him, like they Viking styled him.
Yes.
I only know this because I watched the TV show Vikings, but he talked about it when they cut him from the back, they keep him open and then separate his ribs.
Pull the lungs out and all this stuff.
Viking style.
Is that cold?
I don't
I
remember.
think that was
Yeah,
cold.
they
They
took
cut
his
his
face
face
off,
off. They cut his head
And
off.
I think he was the wife. I think he was abusive. I think that's who.
Yeah,
I
it was
think that
one of those guys.
He was the one that was abusive. Yeah, I believe so. But that happened on his watch because he was about to get close. Because remember, he got the phone call.
As my man Titus said, that is a difference without distinction. It happened. It happened.
That's true.
It happened on his watch.
True. That is true.
There were a lot of lines in this book that I was like, that's a good line right there. That's a good line. And I was like, I like that one right there. That one right there. That one specifically stuck out to me.
Kind of like a little full of himself. There was like a moment where he said something like, I'd love to be wrong here, but I rarely am. But it wasn't like he thought to himself. He fucking like says this out loud. It was like,
I think because he came from big time. So going to what you said, he came from the FBI. And I think the other thing about why he was so embarrassed about his story, I think we're forgetting that he came from a small town. Like, I think that's the reason why it like really was his thing. Because you got to remember, if you're big Tommy, like your family knows that you're an FBI agent, and then next thing you know, it's like you becoming big time, and then you have to move home.
Right.
So it's kind of like embarrassing. You're not going to want to tell everybody why you had to move back home. So I think that's why it was such a heavy.
Well, as y'all said, his story is not embarrassing. He murdered a man, so he had to, that's a little. But yes, that gets a point.
I think that's.
But at least he came back and he ran for office, and he's like the sheriff. Like he didn't.
You admitted that he murdered somebody. So
I don't feel that way. I feel like my man was in a bad spot, and his decisions were made, and it's like his brother said. Mom would have told you to shoot him 4 more times. Like all I'm saying is, just if we did an actual analysis of his job performance, there are people who might complain that might not be wrong. Like, bro, listen, I know you're trying to catch him, and my man is trying not to be caught. We got a serial killer situation out here.
Yeah,
but people keep disappearing. They keep disappearing on your watch. The town has lost like 10 folks. Since this got going, 2
when
people.
He was talking about the recall, I was like, there is a case to be made.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. He was going to need to step down. My guess is you can't. I don't know how you go forward once this, because again, they didn't even catch dude. He died, right? He ended up dead. So we can't even try this dude. We don't even have a confession. We just, we're all just have to assume this is who was doing everything. Because all the deaths probably stopped, right? Because that's what's, true crime, right? We don't have we got no murderers, we got nothing, everybody's whatever, right? So,
in retrospect, that's
we're just all gonna be like, I think that was him, guys. Like,
they caught him in the underground, like, they feel the circumstances.
And they had the little kid tied up on a table down there, too.
Yeah.
Copycats, I'm just saying. And then, I will say, what I thought was crazy was, so he's like, what's his name? Lazaire. If we scrambled those letters, that was the one part I was like, that's a step too far. But okay, all right,
agree.
All right, I was like, all right, bet.
I get a little
because he did that real quick too. He was like, wait a minute.
So you did that in your head?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I was like, all right, Ray, man, I like you.
How long? He was like, the phrase that he was at in the churches. If you recall, he's like, I've seen that phrase before. It's been on 6 different. I'm like, how do you know it's been on 6 different churches?
That's a small town thing.
Well, I was going to say,
come on, that's
his
great.
training also probably like he's a trained. Because I didn't realize this early. Like his brother's like, you went to Virginia, and then you went to Columbia. And then you went up. So I didn't even realize the Columbia thing was. I guess I must have missed that early on. So he's clearly and he's law enforcement. So I can imagine being overly observant about everything And he's meticulous. Remember, he's like that's one of the things we got early on. He's very, very meticulous about everything.
Which sucks that, his past running away from it because he was so meticulous about everything. It's like, how did that slip up?
That's true. I'm not happy about it for him.
You about to recall him.
No, absolutely I am. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I'm one of the citizens of this town. I'm pretty sure that I'm not voting for him next go round. I'm probably going to vote for J-Lo, as his friend Kelly called her. Carla running like, we'll vote.
I'm not voting for her.
See, that's where the real life white supremacy shows its head in this book, because you had the previous sheriff who was beating up black folk, right? He was aiding and abetting what Jasper was he a drug dealer or something like?
Yeah.
There was actual corruption by the old sheriff who'd been in there forever. These kids were still out there murdered. No one said anything about it. You got a pedophile working in the high school.
Well, nobody knew about the murdered kids, though.
Well,
Some of the kids were all in the places.
But it was still happening on his watch. There would be...
If a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears this, it fell.
We don't, just because you ain't hear it, it's down. It fell.
What I'm saying is, I agree. The prior sheriff got to go.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of death, murder, and mayhem happens on your watch, too. You're going to end up having to resign.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about we love Titus. Titus is our guy. Feel you. He's going to have to get a new job.
I just think all those...
You saw the writing on the wall.
For a small town, there was a lot of corruption. In the city council, which preacher was that had a
You're
Cadillac?
actually surprised by
Sitting
this?
Oh, the short one at the
Father's church.
that did the service.
Yeah, like,
his dad.
there's
Why was
folk
it
out there
surprising?
getting it. Like, they
but
were
you're not
getting it.
comparing corruption to like. This isn't even murder that was happening. This is like sheer terror, and like this is like
Terrorism.
gore. Like Buddy had his lungs pulled out from his back.
It wasn't
Like
just
people
people
were having
said
things
it's
carved
about
into them.
Yeah.
It's about to get found out.
I hear you. I'm not arguing that point. I'm just saying how it looks as a citizen. For me, of sharing, like, family.
I don't want to run for any seat where you live in that. That's all I got.
I mean, like in the Jigsaw Man, obviously body parts were washing ashore. You know what I'm saying? That was like what?
Oh, have you
Oh,
not
that's
read?
Just kidding.
That's in
I have not read that, but
that's in the first chapter. Like
Of Native, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, but she's a little.
But people
She
have to
might not
fall
be
on those
able to.
swords when stuff like that happens. Eventually, like take the fact that we understand we have all the context for everything else, right? Because we're the readers.
right,
We got all the context.
right.
The people in the town don't have all this stuff. You know what they know? People is dying. People is getting found in fields. Because that's what the dude with the dog, his dog found coal in a headless thing in the field. Like, wouldn't you be concerned? Like, sir, what are we doing to take care of this?
But Darlene's family did move. Like, they closed their business. They went to the old
Smart.
folks' home.
Smart people.
Because she wasn't around in that.
But can I ask, like, did you not feel that, like, things ended up, like, super neat? Like, all of a sudden, like, the water hole got burnt down, and there was, like what? Jasper?
Watering
Yeah,
hole.
the watering hole.
The little bar,
The bar
Jasper
thing.
spot, whatever.
Who did it? What happened?
I kind of felt like
Was it
Marquise
the? Oh, it was
Yeah,
his
Lucci
brother.
was
Marquise kind of like, it was kind of like
Yeah.
a wicked nod kind of thing. That's all I felt
Yeah,
when
I
I
think
read
his
that
brother
part.
did it, right?
Well, they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Just felt like
it's
very,
done
like,
for.
neatly, a little too neatly wrapped up.
Well, see, that's what I was saying before, though. Like, we don't know what happened with the Spearman event. Like, do we just, like, how did all of this end up being spun in the town newspaper, whatever? Like, so Roger, Lazar, Azrael's dead. You know, Titus is in the hospital, 2 days out, whatever. How is this being reported? We have concluded that the Spearman, this beloved teacher, actually was a murderer and all this thing, and he was a part of this plot with Luttrell and poor Scott. I mean, not poor Scott, but I mean, his whole family business is about to be put all in the street. Scott's half brother, half black brother, who was also part of the Sons of the Confederacy. Like, he was a white passing black man who was out here murdering black kids. And it's Scott's brother because his mother gave up a baby who gave it to the pastor, Elias, who also caught a bad one out here, died. The kid murdered people. I mean, this is a hell of a story to write up in the newspaper. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm just wondering how it ended up in turn. Like,
but that's why I think Titus probably would get reelected. Let me explain why.
Okay.
Because all of this information could then come out. So he couldn't release certain things because it was still an open investigation. Once the case is wrapped up, because as far as we know, like you said, the killer has been caught. So now he can release this information. And I think he would have, and he got hurt in the line of duty. I think he would get the sympathy vote. I think the whites would have felt very bad for what they would think they played a part in it.
That's where you lost me, bro.
I think that they probably get sympathy. I think they might would have, and then
I think he would have gotten enough of them.
Yeah, he would have gotten enough sympathy votes, and he'll need all of them. And then the blacks will be happy because this guy sat right here and he was one of us, and he solved and got.
Oh no, man! 3 black people just moved out of the town. Darlene and her parents, they going.
Darlene,
I'm just saying.
I voted for him. Who would have voted? Because I think he would have gotten recalled, but I think he would have won. I'd have voted for Titus.
Because I mean, everyone hated Luther, right? But he still Idris Elba, yeah. Everybody hated his guts bad, but he's still prevailed.
Because we loyal.
Well, yeah, he's really good at his job. He's really good. He's reckless. He's really good.
The way you lay it out, you put all this now that the case is over. All this information is laid out in the news, in the newspaper. You found this kid in this person's torture chamber underneath this whatever. It was connected to this person who helped him, that person who helped him. Yeah, I think all these folks and when I asked for them to delay Fall Festival, all this stuff, when I've asked them to get rid to remove the permit for the Sons of whatever Anarchy to march, right? Like I think it comes out and he gets the vote.
And on top of that, we're forgetting one character did survive who can testify to all of this. The lady, she got kidnapped, and they found her.
Yeah,
and she did survive. So
Diane
she can
Diane.
When she tried to run,
Do we know that she's still alive?
I think she.
Yeah, she's still alive.
I think she did.
She wasn't dead by the time our book ended.
She wasn't dead, but maybe she was
I think
like.
Lil Levon is the one. I think you take a little boy around that's still alive. The little boy that he had, Lil Levon, Levon McDonald.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one.
He said him too.
He did.
I'm sorry, I
So
interrupted
see,
you though.
No. I'm thinking, but yeah, I can see that. I feel like those are all contributing factors for him getting reelected. But he decided to leave, so now I see. So yeah, I wonder if SA is going to keep writing him.
This is a trilogy.
I don't know. Where do you get the word? Okay, you want words
I think you can't just do one more. You just can't do a sequel.
Well,
so to let him, so he doesn't feel too much pressure, just give us 3.
wow.
I prefer 4, 5, or 6. Right? I think you can go that far.
Blacktop Wasteland take place kind of in the same.
Yes.
There's a trilogy right there. Like I don't know what the first book is
to
about.
To be honest with you, Blacktop Wasteland is. You got to think. The little synopsis. It's more of a getaway driver type book, so there's a lot of action in it, and it's really, really good. And the characters in there, it plays out like a movie. It's really good. Yeah.
Is that also Cosby?
Yeah, it's his
Where
second
was
book.
Razorblade Tears set again?
It was up.
It was
in Virginia. It sounds like southeastern or southwestern Virginia.
So I'm just trying to think, like, would Titus go after Ike or whatever, or something? Like, I'm just
Are we going to have a Cosby universe now?
right, a Cosby multiverse.
Did Razorblade Tears have a sequel?
No,
Not yet.
I'm very interested.
not yet.
Ain't gonna be no sequel to
Ain't
that.
gonna be no sequel. Buddy's dead. That's not
Girl!
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Just read Blacktop Wasteland first, and then you'll forget that part.
Yeah. By the time you get back to it,
Real talk, Razorblade Tears is worth it. Even if you know what happened, you just gotta read. It's so
Yeah.
entertaining.
Yeah.
It's such an entertaining book. Like it's just like that joint is a page turner like a mug.
It is.
I don't know if there's the only other book as I've read as entertaining, and I think this is changing my, is really coloring the way I'm picking books now is these mystery, serial killerish type of books that really just kind of go at it. It's like action, energy from the very beginning. So from Nadine Matheson to this one, every other book that we've read, especially fiction, like when we read those, although who was it that we read, that swimmer from the Caribbean, Black Cake.
Oh, Black Cake, yeah.
Like that was good, but again, it's like that family saga type thing, and it's like it's really it's good, but I enjoy the action.
You enjoy a
I
good
enjoy
slice of human.
Did you know it was Bunny at the end? There was some mystery there. Oh, I was very curious.
I finished the book because it was a book club discussion. Like I did not.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I would not have. The only book that we read that was not that I enjoyed that was more of a like saga, family literary type book is well, of course, Zora. The Eyes What You Got, but the Jason Bride book.
Deacon King Kong.
Deacon King Kong.
Yeah.
Oh, and I bought that when I was last here.
Yeah.
So please don't talk about it.
I won't talk about
So that was a fantastic book
You
without
love
it having to be action and adventure and stuff like that. But any other book I've read outside of like that Deacon King Kong, like I've had to really force myself. And some of those, like Turner House, was it Yellow House? What was it?
Turner House.
Yeah, I didn't even finish that book. I was like,
Well, because there's no point. That book was
just
terrible.
the point. Like again,
That book was actually terrible.
it's different when you connect the generations to something, but it just felt like there were no connections. Like, why were we reading this tale about this
I
huge
started
ass family?
following her on Instagram, and I stopped following her when I got to the end. I was so mad at the book.
Was it the Yellow House or the Turner House?
Unfollowed
No,
her.
Yellow.
No.
Turner House.
The yellow.
Was it Yellow House?
No, it's Turner House.
Turner House,
That's
yeah.
what we read.
Is it
but-
about the house in New Orleans?
Nah, it's
No.
Detroit.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know
Detroit.
that. You so
Yeah,
don't
it
read
was.
that.
Because we talked about that for a bit. But it's like you build up all of these characters, right? Because it's a big family, right? But then by the time we ended the book, I was like, so why were we here? Like,
Facts. I mean,
Why were we
that's 100%. I think everybody had the exact same. Like we came in here, nobody wanted to be the one to say it first. Like, yo, this book sucks.
because with
And it was right. It was over after that. I said it, and you got to get the first sentence out, and then the rest of it's fine. And then it was just like a pylon. It got bad.
Because with Deacon King Kong, that's not to say that book isn't about anything, but like, how would you describe the plot line of that book?
It's I don't know if there's a plot line. It's a
Exactly.
book about community.
Yes.
Right? It's just a book about. I think you lean in more to it's fantastic writing. Like not necessarily you don't even really care about what happens. Like stuff happens, but like it's just a fantastic, a wonderfully written book that you have to read. And in that you enjoy it because he makes what is a non-story a story. Because of his ability. Like, that's how I kind of look at it. But not everyone is that level of a writer. So you got to give them, for me, you got to give me something else.
Yeah.
Right? Like, in fact, it was interesting. Ta-Nehisi, The Water Dancer, we thought would be a wonderfully written book, but he could not, to me, he wasn't able to pull that off.
Now that's a book that we could have cut a lot out of that book. It was love him to death. Hope he keeps.
And even this, like,
but
even saying I would cut pages, like it read quick, right? So it's not like I'd want to cut pages because I thought that it took too much time for me to get to the end. Like that wasn't the case at all.
right.
It was just like there were some things I was like, I don't know if this added to the story. Like I don't for me anyway. I was like, I don't know if this was necessary to get to where we got to. Like we probably didn't need it, but at the same time, I mean, it's a small complaint. Like it's a minor.
But you would rather cut than add more depth to the things that felt rushed.
Oh, 100%. Because actually, the thing that I enjoy about his writing is that I don't think it's all that deep to begin with. I think it's like everything that needs to be explained gets explained, but while that's happening, the shenanigans are afoot, right? So like while the depth is being explained, whatever is there, there's a lot of story that's happening. So like I enjoy these books because there's so much action, there's so much going on, while also like you said earlier, like playing around with racial dynamics and stuff like that. Like Razor Blade Tears in particular, like that was a whole book of a buddy crime about two people who didn't belong together, who joined forces because of their kids, but do they become friends? I mean, they're kind of homies at the end, but they got each other's back. You know what I'm saying? But like, they learn things about themselves and each other in the process. You know, it was just like, wow, this is really interesting. Like, he's really going interesting places with this. Even the decision, you know, this isn't a spoiler, but like their sons, these are two kind of uber conservative, in their sons are gay and are together, and then it's like we have to get over that. And then, but we love our kids more than we hate the fact that they're gay. So we're gonna ride this thing out to the end, kind of thing. So that's what I'm saying. Like I can appreciate the simplicity in what he's getting to. Like I'm not one of those people that necessarily enjoys like super dense or in-depth writing and all this stuff. Like it doesn't add a ton for me. I can appreciate really good writing, but I don't think that I need it to be something where my first thought is this is really well written for me to enjoy. Like I really enjoy this, and I don't think it's not well written, but it ain't James McBride. It ain't that kind of, you know, where he's like his creativity with words is part of the package, and you know that. You know what I'm saying?
What's interesting, like because you're all about editing. First of all, you're a writer, right? So it's not a world that I'm used to. But that process of editing and being edited is something that I think readers don't necessarily quite get. But like you said, he doesn't leave a lot. I'm wondering what is on his cutting room floor, right? Because I'm thinking it's more of the shenanigans, the action that he has to dwindle down, because, like I said, where he has to explain is simple in and out conversation, and now to the action.
Yeah.
So I will be like, okay, what is your uncut version of this action? To me, is what I'm imagining. He's having to trim down the action pieces to get to this story. But and again, that's what I love. So I would ask him that if like we was doing.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like, what is your editing process, and what are you mostly cutting? Is it the conversations about race and stuff like that, or is it really like, dude, we should have kept that action scene? Like that's.
I mean, I wonder if it's other characters and stuff. I mean, like there's other, because the way that I kind of envisioned this too was, and I've never written a fiction book, so but I would imagine you kind of have like a huge board where you have all your characters, and you know, like you kind of have to like flesh out your characters while you're thinking about the storyline, and you got all these characters listed here. And it's like, this one probably I don't need. Maybe this one isn't going to help with the story. Like it's cool to tell that little small part because, like, so for instance, like there were a couple times in this book where there are characters that are introduced, but they're only there to serve the purpose of the discovery of a body, right? Like the guy with the dog that he hates, or that he pretends he hates, but he actually really loves the dog and all this stuff. But there's a whole chapter that's purely there just to talk about him who's discovering the body of Cole, I think, you know.
I liked that.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
And I did enjoy that. I actually enjoyed that part. I wouldn't want to get rid of that.
I wouldn't be surprised a lot of his editing, because a lot of the books I read, they do such a good job as far as like detailing like the wind, the way the wind blows, and it's like points where they do such a good job in like detailing it. You like feel like you're there. I feel like he doesn't put that in the book, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's what part that might get cut. Because I do like his books, because to me it reminds me of like the meat and potatoes conversation. Like just give me the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
But he also stems to the point of where you get a touch of and a sprinkle of like what's really going on. Like I think it reminds people of those small towns that you like go on road trips and you understand like this town exists. But if you want to know a little bit more about this town, then he leaves that room for you to do the research. But he's not going to give too much detail. And even with Razor Blade Tears, I love the fact that, because I wanted to talk about that book, because I love the fact that you got to also understand sometimes certain situations are just ignorance. And I think that was sometimes what was Buddy's character. Sometimes it was just straight up ignorance. Like, well, I didn't know. And then you kind of really got to understand that. And then some of it was just straight down racism. But I think those parts don't get told, especially from a black author, and that's why I love that book.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I agree with you, and I think I like that part of the book because I think we too often use racism or call people racist at the wrong time.
Yes.
I think we just need to call them prejudiced, bigoted,
Yeah.
whatever, that, and leave racist for the people who are in positions that actually have influence in making decisions. So I agree with you. Like to me, Buddy was mostly ignorance, right, and stuff being told to him from other things or him watching Fox or whatever. So
and being in his bubble,
you're a bigot, right? And if that's a person that it doesn't matter what you say because you live in a half a trailer, like you can't impact me, right?
Agreed.
Versus someone else like the I forgot.
The leaders in power who were using that.
The leaders, exactly.
Yeah. So but so after you read it, just come on back.
I will.
We'll do it.
Very
We'll do a special
mini session.
For Resume Ticket. So I think we're getting near the end. It doesn't happen often, but there are times that we find a book that we're not fighting each other about.
Yeah, that's true.
Like it doesn't. Most times it's like, we're in here and we're going at it. Especially nonfiction books that, from women's perspective, and I'm on edge. Books.
What was the last one where you said that comment? Oh my
I don't
god!
know.
It was some comment
What
like
was
it's just
that?
a male gaze from it. And I was like,
Was that me and you went back and forth on that?
Was it? There might have been Ride or Die.
maybe it wasn't.
Because
I feel like it was.
I feel like it was something else. I feel like it was another book. I don't know.
Yeah,
It might have. You didn't like Ride or Die at all, right?
No.
Like you didn't like that book at all.
Anyways.
Yeah. But I love the author.
Love Tanita.
Love but yeah, that one just so that's probably this run of books we have are books that are action.
No,
Was last year nonfiction?
Oh, except for you.
Last year was nonfiction?
No. So we mix them up. But earlier this year, we got over to like a 3 or 4 month run of nonfiction books, because usually the only thing that interrupted it was Zora's.
It started with Zora, then we did Razorblade Tears, Ride or Die, then we did South to America.
Didn't you say you did Black Cake?
Yeah,
But
that was December leading into
Well,
January. So that actually started us off for the year because we read it in December and then discussed it in January.
Yeah.
And then we did Shine Bright. I wasn't here for that one. But we did that one.
That might have been.
That was the one that was huge
That
when
might
I
have
wasn't
been one
here.
where, because I was here for that one, because that was my pick, and everybody was like, "Why?"
Oh,
That might have been. Because that was interesting because I remember it was
Wow, y'all were
Nobody
not
had him on the
Shine Bright.
corner.
Nobody
had him
seems
on the corner.
nobody seemed to like that.
I was tapped out for that one.
Michelle.
It was my birthday, so I had to peace
Yeah,
out.
I was
So that's
surprised because I think I read that book.
Oh, and then Shouting in the Fire too.
Oh yeah, duh! I skipped right over Shine Bright. Maybe
yeah.
that was the one where you said it was probably.
No. I love.
You looked up, so maybe
I
that was
was
the
I was younger in that one. I came
we
in.
all were like, we need a follow up to this book.
Yeah.
Shouting in the Fire. We need a follow
It was funny because the reason why I didn't like it versus the reason why other people didn't like it was different. Like I came in hot on that one. Like I was reading this book mad. Like
who picked this book? I think it was you came in. I'm like, who the hell picked this?
I did. Yes, I did. I walked in and I was like, who the hell picked this book? This
like,
terrible tone, whatever.
But the rest of these, besides Huey P. and Newton's book, is fiction.
We have Tanner Reeve Dude coming up as well.
Yes.
But it's been to be able to read this number of fiction books and for them all to have been good so far and going into Chain Gang All-Stars,
so excited for that.
and then Tanner Reeve Dude after that. Like I feel like this might be our best run of of books. It's going to be interesting to see where we find, because the division is part of the fun of this. Is us lying on each side and trying to figure out, well, you know, I've had
How much Panama hate this book when he walks in here. I feel like I hate it when I read all these books now.
I'm excited for your opinion on Changing All Stars.
You read it already?
No, I've only read the first 2 chapters, but it's so exciting. Like it's so
Yeah,
good.
so Damon read that book. He did a talk with the author, and he was like, "Yo," he's like, "I think you need to read this book."
Oh, you know.
And then I read, but here's the thing: I read the reviews, and I was like, "This sounds like one of the books that's either going to be good or it's way too much going on."
Wow.
What happened?
So you know, last time.
That's true. But this book, but this book is about black people. So this
It was about black person there too.
Yeah, but that ain't nowhere we thought it was gonna go. This book is about black people. This book is pretty highly regarded, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Lester was too. But
Lester was too. But.
Yeah.
So I would say Damon, he and I had a talk about it. He didn't say you should read this book. He was like, I just talked to the author. It was a good talk about it. You know, this book is highly regarded. It sounds mad interesting. Like, I don't think he finished it when he did the talk, but he read enough so he could do an author talk. But
they have the first chapter free online on I forget who the publisher is off the top of my head, but they let you read an excerpt. And I mean,
it's one of the books that got they got all the New York Times treatment and all that stuff. Like, it got like this is supposed to be a book that goes.
The author, he's well known. He got New York Times bestsellers for Friday Black, which is a series of short stories that are like Afrofuturist, which is really big in this time. Any last thoughts, guys? Wonderful book by S.A. Cosby. S.A., if you want to stop by.
Yeah, he good with me, man. We love it. We should get him in somewhere. We get this dude to come in and talk about.
Very interesting.
I mean, because I'm a fan. Like, I'm genuinely a fan. Like, I have all of the books now. I just haven't read Blacktop, Wasteland, and I guess the first one. But I plan on reading it. It's like right there on my thing of like, I need to read this book.
Yeah.
You know, it's the book that I want to read. And like, I even read and listen to the audiobooks, and I'm not irritated by it. Like, I can go back and forth with both of them. Sometimes like, that goes really bad. Like, when you try to, you know, but I don't know, man. It's my dude.
Yeah, he chooses a really good person to narrate the books. Yeah.
He does. Yeah, he actually does. It works. It doesn't take away from it at all.
He did Razor Blade Tears, and he does this one, and he did Blacktop Wasteland. This is a famous actor too.
Really?
Yeah, very famous.
Look
I can't remember, but yeah, he does a very good job as far as narrating.
So speaking of a book that I did an audiobook for is now they didn't even tell me they posted the thing.
What?
I did this audiobook of Steel Driving Man, the Ballad of John Henry. So it's like a book about finding out who John Henry really was, white historian. But anyway, it's very personal and academic, and I ended up doing the audiobook for it, so that just went live. So I've been listening to myself read that book.
You were listening.
I'm listening to myself read this book, yeah.
It's on Libro.
Yes, on audio, it's on all the stuff. Yeah, it's on all the things.
Yeah, we'll promote it.
But didn't you read it when you were doing the audiobook?
I did, but you know what? You do editing and stuff like that. Like, I don't know if you ever try to do an audiobook, but
Never.
It's an extreme. So this ends up being like 6 hours or something like that, maybe a little bit longer. We did this over 4 days, and they were 8-hour days. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to read and then you got to go back and edit things. Like, there's a producer sitting with you, like, no, we got to do that passage over again. That wasn't clear. So I'm reading it, but I'm not really comprehending. I'm just executing. Whereas now when I'm listening to it, it's just like actually listening to it, you know, listening to the story, whatever. So I read the book in advance and then I had to go execute it. But it was all just so I could do it. You know, I wasn't really reading for comprehension as much. So, like, I can't tell you 90% of what's in that book off the top of my head right now. And I read that book out loud and to myself quietly. But all of that was purely just so I could perform it.
I love how you were like, you know how sometimes when you record an audiobook, it's like, that's not my experience.
So Adam Lazaire White, that's who narrates it.
Yep.
Yeah, he's been on Criminal Minds, my show.
I don't know that name. He was on Criminal
Why am
Minds.
I thinking New Jack City?
You're thinking Christopher Williams.
He was a bad guy?
Okay.
Or he's on the
Or
team?
Mario Van Peebles. He looks more like Mario Van Peebles.
Yeah,
Oh,
wow.
He looks like Christopher Williams.
So he narrates all of
Yeah, he did a good job with it.
I guess this looks he looks like now, kind of. Maybe.
Oh yeah, I recognize that guy more now. He
Yes,
kind of looks like
I know
Tina
that
Lawson's
man.
husband.
Richard Lawson.
Richard Lawson.
And that's ex-husband now.
Ex-husband, yes.
Yeah, so, like, any last thoughts? It sounds like everybody loved it.
I liked it.
Everybody enjoyed it.
Well, come back to us after you read Razor Blade Tears and maybe.
Because loved is in such high praise. Loved, did I love it?
You're new to the genre. You're new to the, so you know
Well,
yeah.
I don't count.
Yeah.
It's in my top, but I will say I enjoyed this a lot. But Razor Blade Tears, I don't know what it is about that story. Like, for me, that tops this one as far as the books and the mystery. Right? And you know me, I love the Binding. I didn't have the Binding. Well, I like that one too, but not as much as the Jigsaw Man. I feel like
The Jigsaw Man was the first one,
was
right?
fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The second one,
I like
I have
that
high hopes for the third one. Hopefully, we get back to it. But
I'll put. See, this goes into the mystery section with those. So Razor Blade Tears is over here in a different category for me. But this, I again, highly recommend this. We all enjoyed the book. Okay, highly enjoyed the book. All right, we all highly enjoyed the book. Highly recommend it, especially if you need a palate cleanser. Like you've been reading some stuff that you just you're just dealing with a lot of stuff. Like, find yourself a corner, read this book, and you'll find like that stuff is gone. Right? I think it's one of those books that will just take you out of that mode where you're dealing with just life. Right. So, highly recommend it. S.A. Cosby. As soon as the new book come out, that'll be added to the list. Like that's just going to be a no-brainer going forward for us now. The next book that we're going to be reading, no, we are reading now, and we'll be discussing the first Friday in October. And who's going to say the brother's name?
Nana Kwame Ajay Brenda.
I'm not wearing no glasses.
yes,
That's probably
Nana Kwame Ajay.
Yeah, Nana Kwame Ajay Brenda. That's how my wife would pronounce it, probably.
Okay, so we'll go with that. Fantastic. Well, I can say it's fantastic. I haven't read it yet. Chain Gang All Stars. He had his first book was bonkers. Friday Black, I think it was. And that was a book that, to me, was a lot of word of mouth. So people was telling other people to read this book. And then he comes out with this one, and yeah, it just immediately drops, and people are into it. So we'll be reading this one and discussing it first Friday,
October 6th.
in October 6th. We start at 6 o'clock. And then we get here, right? So
Traffic will when we start at 6
we're in
o'clock.
DC, so you know we deal with some stuff. We appreciate it. So please join us next month. If you're reading this now, come into the store, talk to us, let us know what you think. Give us a early precursor of what you will say. We've been known to do that. If we don't like the book, we fuss about it mid-month.
Well, like I said, I'm 3 chapters in. If you like Hunger Games and you want to see more Black people in Hunger Games, then maybe this is for you. Although maybe that was a bad statement because Hunger Games was
There are 4
children
people in there
gladiators.
this way.
So that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was pretty easy one. We didn't have to fight about this one, so we don't have 2 hours worth of conversation. So
Well, guys, make sure you check us out for our Labor Day sale, Friday through Monday. 10% off everything except bargain books and our art books, unfortunately. But come in and shop with us, and you already know Black books matter.
So I'm gonna wrap it up. So thank you for that, Brianna. We appreciate it. So yeah, guys, please check us out. Follow us. We do have. I did want to make mention, Brother Panama and I have a fantastic event coming up. September 21st with Michael Harriot, the book Black AF History. And from what I've read so far, absolutely incredible nonfiction history book. Great guy. I think it's going to be a fantastic conversation. That's going to be at Eden DC Hotel. You can go to our website and register for that. And we'll have the conversation. You'll get your book signed, and it's going to be an incredible night. So I did want to end on that note because we want to That's gonna be
That should be fun.
September 21st.
Yeah,
September
yeah.
21st.
Talk to Michael about that today. You know, and this brother's tours. You know, he's doing the Apollo. Like,
Yeah, I saw that pop
after
up.
that. Like, he's
he's moving. He's
yeah.
moving. So fantastic.
It's a good book, though. It's a really good book.
Thank you guys. We appreciate it. Catch us next time. Take care.
You coming back for